When I did my video this morning talking about the rest of the first half of Season 9, the final season premiering early, I talked about some of the synopsis and details that we've been given about some of the episodes. One of the episodes that stuck out to me, and I'm pretty sure is going to be this season's equivalent to the Perfect Pear from Season 7, is The Last Crusade. The reason I say that is because The Last Crusade apparently is going to be the last focused episode on the CMCs for the series. It's going to be the last one, and it possibly means the end of the CMCs as well, because this episode also marks the long-awaited debut of Scootaloo's parents, as well as it also marks the animated debut of Scootaloo's aunts, who have been confirmed by one of the authors of the Ponyville Mysteries as being the first LGBTQ couple officially in MLP. But why do I bring this up? Because basically the synopsis is something shows up in Ponyville that threatens to break up the CMCs forever, and also the episode looks back in a reflective way on the legacy of the Cutie Mark Crusaders. And for someone that's watched television a lot growing up, animated, live action, read comic books and everything, when an episode or an issue is dedicated and reflected, or is dedicated at looking back and reflecting back at the legacy of a certain group of characters that work together, or just one character in particular, that usually means that character is going to end up leaving, or that group is going to come to an end, because certain characters are going their separate ways. And when I hear people talk about this episode upcoming in the next several weeks being something like that, it does give you the idea, it does give you the impression that it's going to be the Perfect Pear. It's going to be basically the equivalent of the Perfect Pear for Season 9. I mean, there's already screenshots and screen grabs, animated GIFs and all that floating around social media like Twitter, courtesy of Mighty Muffins at Twitter, and a few other places, showing the CMCs crying. Like, this is a moment that they weren't expecting to happen so soon, but yet it is. Like, they know if a certain decision is made and a certain moment does occur, that the CMCs are going to be no more. Now, I can't say for certain what the end result's going to be. I'm sure there are those that have already seen the episode because of its early release in places like Italy, and if they can understand and translate Italian, they have an idea of what's going to happen. But the question is this episode going to be able to live up to the legacy and the impact that the Perfect Pear left with its emotional story that it's going to tell? But when one thinks about it, it's not just going to be the CMCs that this story is going to be emotionally affecting, that this situation is going to have a big emotional effect on. The other character that's going to probably have a huge emotional effect on is Rainbow Dash. And I'm surprised Rainbow's not brought up in this. But you definitely know that if it involves Scootaloo, she's going to play a major part in some way. She might be able to kind of she might be able to console the other CMCs and make them understand that, you know, Scootaloo's growing up just like they are, and it's time for her to, well, spread her wings. This might even be the episode where Scootaloo finally does fly, and maybe that's a way she gets to stay. We don't know. The point is, the CMCs are not just going to be the only ones affected. It's also going to be Rainbow Dash. And whatever the Last Crusade is going to be for them, that's going to allow them to go out on a high note before the possibility of the inevitable of Scootaloo going off with her parents happens, then it's going to be a very memorable one indeed. Now, speaking of her parents, we find out that her parents, according to what some people were able to get some information about, is her parents were traveling the world and they would show up sporadically to check up on Scootaloo, who was living with her aunts. And only now the return to Ponyville seems to have some very important significance. In other words, this could be basically the moment where they decide that Scootaloo has proven herself from what they've been able to hear, courtesy of her aunts and all that Scootaloo is old enough to go with them and travel the world on adventures, and thus be able to spend time with them and bond with them. But will that happen? We don't really know. All I know is the Last Crusade, to me, from what I can tell, is going to be a very emotional episode. It's probably going to be one of the best episodes of the series, if not the season, just due to its emotional weight and the fact that it's probably marking the end of the Cutie Mark Crusaders. But we don't know that yet. Again, nobody is really saying anything due to the fact that it came out early in Italy, and no offense, nobody understands Italian unless they can translate it. Now, I know some people will think, well, didn't Scootaloo say back in Season 7 when she talked to Rainbow Dash about the way Rainbow acted towards her parents, that she wished she had someone to kind of give her that same encouragement? That's true, she did. And that's what made people still speculate what's going on. Well, where's her parents? Well, this kind of fills that gap, that maybe because of the fact that her parents were traveling the world and would only show up sporadically, that they never had the opportunity to encourage their daughter to do better. You know, especially when it came to her trying to learn to fly, even with the wings she had. So, you know, maybe that's what we're going to get the answer as to. Maybe that's why she hasn't had that opportunity to get that same encouragement that Rainbow's parents gave her. Now you might say, well, what about the aunts? Well, the aunts, yes, they probably did encourage her, but not in the way that a mother and a father would, actual parents would. So it's going to be really intriguing how this all plays out. I mean, you could definitely tell that, like I said, the CMCs are not just going to be playing a major role, an emotional role in this, but you're going to have Rainbow Dash playing an emotional role. You're going to have Rainbow Dash's parents, in a way, playing an emotional role. You're probably going to have Rarity and Applejack involved as well, because their sisters are BFFs with Scootaloo. So, and thus that kind of makes Scootaloo like family to them. So it makes you curious as to how much is going to play out in this upcoming episode. Like I said, not much is really given out about this because it was released early in Italian. And like I said, no offense, but not everybody can understand Italian. So we'll have to wait and see what they have planned for the future. They have planned for the future when it comes to this episode. Whether or not Scootaloo will still be part of the series after this is up in the air. I honestly believe she will be. But again, we don't know exactly how they're going to work this out, how it's going to play out in the end. But it's going to be, and I'll tell you this, it's going to be a very emotional, interesting watch. And to me, honestly, this is going to be what I feel the equivalent of what the Perfect Pear was in Season 7. That's what I believe. That's what I feel. It's going to be the equivalent of what the Perfect Pear was in Season 7. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I will talk to y'all later.